Hello YouTubers, and welcome back to another Toddy Walnuts overview video. And this time I'm going to show you my little stack of Vinegar Syndrome with slipcovers. We're going to show all of these in one video, and then I'm going to come back and show you guys my box sets. And then tomorrow, or maybe in a couple days, I'll do my complete Vinegar Syndrome overview of everything that I own. That's going to be a long one. So let's just jump into it. These are in no particular order. These are all new to my collection. I may have shown a couple of these before in the past. I'm not sure. I know I had this one for a couple months. I can't remember if I showed it or not. I'm going to show it again. These are in no order. So this first one is it's a cult classic, but it's an adult movie, and I'm not really into buying the adult movies, but this one is kind of a collector's edition. It has a very young Samantha Fox, and when I say young, she's of age, but it's like one of her earlier roles. And this was a Vinegar Syndrome website exclusive. It's called Her Name Was Lisa. And I'm not going to show you too much of this, but it's more than just an adult film. It's about Lisa, who was played by Samantha Fox. She's been found dead of a heroin overdose, and at her funeral, stories are told about her, and then you get to see how her life unfolds in these stories that people are telling about her. So it's more than just your brainless TNA flick, and I don't feel like I have to defend that to you. If I want to buy this, I'll buy it. It's my collection. Don't tell me what to buy. All right, let's get to the next one. All right, obviously I was joking about that. I don't care if you guys like the movies I show or not. If you like it, you do. If you don't, find something else that you like, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to. It's not that serious to me. So the next one here is called The Ripper, and this one stars Tom Savini as Jack the Ripper. This one's pretty new. I think this one just recently came out. This is from kind of a sub-line from Vinegar Syndrome called the Gausser video. Don't really know much about them. I have a couple now, but I don't really know much else about it. I know that these are considered Vinegar Syndrome movies. It's like a little offshoot from the regular Vinegar Syndrome stuff that they put out. It's not really like a sister label or a partner label. But other than that, I don't know much else about that. So it's a movie from 1986, 102 minutes running time. It's all region, and this was just put out this year, 2024. I think this was only put out like a few months ago. So you get the newly transferred and restored best quality archival tape master. There's an interview with Tom Savini, some other interviews, and just glad to have this one. I have it on DVD, but I wanted to get this on Blu-ray. And so there's not really any reversible cover, but that is a pretty nice looking image on the interior. But there's no reversible cover, but you still do get the thick slip. It's kind of a glossy feel to it. It's really good. You can see that the font there, the Ripper, has kind of a gloss to it. And that looks really good. So that is The Ripper, and this should still be available for the Black Friday sale. Why don't you grab it and add it to your collection? The next one here, I knew I had to get this one. I'm a sucker for 1960s black and white monster movies, especially Italian Gothic monster movies, and that's what this is. It's called The Playgirls and the Vampire, 1962, I believe. But just check out this cover. Painted cover from back in the theater days when they would have the posters hanging in the lobbies. That is absolutely amazing. This is a new release from Vinegar Syndrome, and I believe that there's quite a few of these still available on their website. This would be another great grab for the Black Friday sale. So this one came out in 1960 it came out. I thought it was 62. It's 81 minutes running time, black and white like I mentioned. It is all region. And you get some additional bonus materials there, scanned in 4K. This is not an adult film. There was only one of those in this video, and I think I only have 2 in my entire collection. So don't get the wrong idea about me. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, you know, you got to do what you got to do, right? But I'm not really, that's not my thing. So The Playgirls and the Vampire. 1960 Gothic Italian horror. Grab that, check it out. The next one here is a 3-pack, and these are the films of Enrique Gomez Vadillo. You get Death on the Beach, Johnny Chicano, and Savage Summer. It's movies like this and sets like this that Vinegar Syndrome put out that make me really happy to be a fan of physical media, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know anything about Enrique Gomez Vadillo, and I've never seen any of these movies. And if it hadn't been for Vinegar Syndrome, I probably never would have ever even had these or known about them. So really glad to have this. So you get the disc. It's a 2-disc, I believe, and then there's a booklet here. We'll take that out. We'll look at that in a minute. But on the first Blu-ray disc, you get, and it's in the Spanish titles there. And we'll take a look at the back. I haven't popped these in yet, but I definitely will be soon. So the movies came out in 1980, 1981, and 1991, a combined running time of 257 minutes, color, all region. You can watch it with English track. I don't see where I don't think you can listen to it in Spanish. I'm not sure. It just says English on the back. Usually I'm sorry, it's, hold on a second. It says English subtitles up here, but down here it says, Mexican director Enrique Gomez Vadillo is one of the country's forgotten cult cinema notables, responsible for a series of genre films, gritty melodramas, and erotic works through the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Vadillo's films have been largely unavailable for English language audiences until now. Notable as much for their beautiful landscapes as their perverse subversion of telenovela storytelling and wildly upping the volume of sexual debauchery. And we'll leave it there. No, these are not adult films, but I think these are more or less kind of like the Cinemax movies, right? Not actual like Spice Channel movies, but more like Showtime at night or Cinemax at night type of a deal. And then it comes with this little booklet here. I have to be careful because sometimes Vinegar Syndrome will drop like a little nip slip or something in there. And so it's just a little kind of a leaflet. There's like maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages maybe. A little bit of write-ups about the movies. So very glad to have this one. And I picked this up on eBay, and I think it was like 20 bucks. For 3 movies, that's a steal for me. The next one is, it achieved cult status by now, I believe. It's called The Corpse Grinders. It's a Ted V. Michaels movie from the early 70s, 71, 72-ish. And these were definitely low-budget, drive-in style movies. And like I said, they have achieved cult status by now just because they're kind of over-the-top gore. The special effects were not really very good, and you can always tell that they were very shoestring budget. And but I think that's what gives it kind of the charm of being a cult classic now. So it did come out in 1971. It's only 73 minutes running time. It is all region. I know this was a short run. Usually Vinegar Syndrome will put out movies like 5,000, 6,000 copies. This one was only limited to 2,000 with a slipcover. So, and then there you can see the disc and the reversible art. Now the only difference between the two is this one doesn't have in blood curdling, what does it say at the bottom? Blood curdling color. And this one doesn't have that, but this one does. And so it's just a little bit different is all. So, and it does have some bonus materials. It has a newly scanned 2K. There's audio commentary. There's a TED Talks archival interview with Ted V. Michaels from 2007. Pretty fun little movie. I got a good deal on this one on eBay. And I'm not trying to get the whole entire run from Vinegar Syndrome. Just certain ones that I like. That's why I'm not a subscriber, because I mean, everything that they put out is high quality, but I don't really necessarily want every movie that they put out. There's a handful here and there that I'm just not really that interested in. And to be a subscriber, it's pretty expensive. So I just pick them up as I see fit, the ones I want to add to my collection. So that is the Corpse Grinders from 1971. The next one here is another very recent release. There's a lot of these still on the website. This is a slasher movie called Terror at 10 Killer. This is the 4K and Blu-ray combo. And I watched this a couple nights ago, and I thought it was pretty good. I'm a fan of slasher movies, even if they're really bad. But this one wasn't that bad. It was kind of like middle of the road, a little bit better, like 6.5 out of 10 in my opinion. It was definitely worth a watch, and I would recommend it. That's what the reversible cover looks like. And then you got the Blu-ray and the DVD. I'm sorry, you got the Blu-ray and the 4K. And I like this one. I thought it was pretty good. It's a movie from 1986. So I'm a sucker for slasher movies. I'm a sucker for 70s and 80s movies. So this kind of fit the bill for me, and I enjoyed it. Terror at 10 Killer. Pick it up, check it out. The next one here is a movie that I owned already, but they had two different covers of the same movie. This was an alternate cover, and this is a creature feature horror movie from the 80s, I think 86, called Spookies. And so now I have both covers. The other cover looked like this. So the other slipcover had this image, and so this was a slipcover, and then this was it was just the exact opposite, and I have both of them now. And this is a pretty good little creature feature. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty fun. You can tell that the monsters were in rubber suits, and going back to talking about the 80s movies again, and a lot of the 80s movies looked like this, and I loved it. I love the 80s for that. Some great times back then. This is it's not a great movie, but it's still a fun movie, and I enjoy this movie, and it's one I would revisit from time to time. There are some movies that I'll only watch once, and then I'll just kind of forget about it, but this is one I would put in the arsenal, and I'll kind of revisit from time to time. That's Spookies from, I think I said 1986. It's 85. 1985 this came out. The next one here is another triple feature, and this one's really good. This is called Spanish Bloodbath. And so far, I've only seen one of the movies in here, and that was Violent Bloodbath. So you get Night of the Skull, Violent Bloodbath, and The Fish with the Eyes of Gold. And I believe Violent Bloodbath was the only one that has an English track. The other ones have English subtitles. But I really enjoyed it. I thought these were really good. There's a reverse of the slipcover. And here's each movie comes on its own disc too. That's another cool thing. So you have Night of the Skull and Violent Bloodbath and The Fish with the Eyes of Gold. So these movies were from the 70s. 1974 has a combined running time of 258 minutes. And it says it's presented in the original Spanish mono soundtracks with newly translated English subtitles, as well as an English mono dub soundtrack for Violent Bloodbath. So I was right. There's only one that has an English track, but I'm definitely going to watch all of them. I thought these were really good, and to me it's just as good as the Italian slashers and the British slashers. It was right up there. I mean, the Euro horror movies are excellent. I really enjoy them. So Spanish Bloodbath, I definitely recommend it. So this next one here, I believe I did show this before, but that's okay. I'll show it again because I think it's definitely worthy of another mention, and I think it's worthy of a buy. This is called The Werewolf versus Vampire Woman. This is a Paul Naschy werewolf movie, and there's 3 different cuts of the movie. This is the 4K. Check out this artwork, man. That's beautiful. So you get 3 discs. You get the Ultra HD, and then you get 2 Blu-rays. And the reason why there's 3 discs, I'll read a little bit about it. The 4K disc contains the 87-minute international export nude version of The Werewolf versus Vampire Woman, presented in 4K. And then Blue Disc 1 contains everything on the 4K disc, plus following special features: The Man Who Saw Frankenstein Cry, an 80-minute documentary, and a feature-length documentary from 2010 featuring Mick Garris, John Landis, Javier Botet, Joe Dante, Caroline Munro, Paul Naschy, and more, and interviews. And then disc 2 contains the following alternate cuts of the film: the Spanish clothed version, which is 94 minutes, and the Spanish language soundtrack and English subtitles of the nude version, which is 95 minutes. So you get everything that you could ever want from this movie. I mean, everything is included in this set. This is a movie, but it's almost like a box set. That's how much Vinegar Syndrome puts into their releases. They make a movie feel like it's a box set with documentaries and interviews and different cuts of the movie. It's just a beautiful thing. So I wanted to show this again, maybe pique your interest, and maybe you want to grab it for yourself. So the next movie is called Thriller, A Cruel Picture, and starring Christina Lindbergh. You guys know about this movie by now. I'm not going to talk too much about it because there's certain subjects in this movie that are not allowed to be talked about on YouTube. It's a revenge movie, and it does have scenes of full penetration. I'm not really crazy about this movie, and I really wasn't going to buy this. I have this movie already on DVD from, who was it? I think it was, I can't remember if it was Severin or Blue Underground, but they released 2 different versions of the movie. One of them was cut, heavily cut, that didn't have the penetration scenes, and then there was one that was fully uncut. And this is not a very good movie to me, in my opinion. I don't think it's that great of a movie. They came out with a box set. It was like limited to 10,000 for this, and I passed on it. Didn't really want it. I think it's probably still available, but I saw this one. It's limited to 3,000, and this is the 4K. And just for collector's purposes, I grabbed this, and it was only like 20 bucks. So you get it's the 4K release of the movie. And funny enough, on the Vinegar Syndrome website, the 4K release and the Blu-ray release both cost the same amount. So why wouldn't you buy the 4K, I guess? But unless you don't have a 4K player, which I do. But so here's the slipcover, and I'm sure talking about this movie a lot for somebody who doesn't really like it that much. I just want to show you what you get with it. So you get, it's a 3-disc set, and you get the 4K and 2 Blu-rays. And I think it's because, we'll read on the back, but the 4K is the fully uncensored version, And then you get the two different, you get Thriller, A Cruel Picture, which I believe that was the uncensored. And they call her One Eye, which was the cut, the one that had the scenes removed. And then there's also a documentary, 43-minute documentary of them. There's a lot of stuff on here. The movie came out in 1973, 108 minutes running time. This has achieved cult status over the years, and I think it's because of just the nature of the movie and the scenes in the movie. But if you get past that, the movie itself is very, very dull. There's not much substance to the movie. It was just trying to be a shock, and I think it did shock a lot of people. The movie's 50-something years old now, so it had to, I mean, it must have really shocked people 50 years ago, but today, it's just, to me, I'm just going to move on. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's far from a good movie, in my opinion. The next one here, this was a very good movie. Has a great cast, and it had a great story to it. It's Dean Martin and Robert Mitchum in a movie called Five Card Stud, and it's a murder mystery. And Dean Martin and Robert Mitchum have to try to find out why these high roller card players are getting murdered one by one and who's killing them. And they have to try to figure out who's going to be next. This was a pretty fun watch, and I had never seen this before I bought this. I watched this about a month ago, and it looks great. There's Dino and Robert Mitchum. To me, two of the greatest actors. In my opinion, I would put Dean Martin, as far as an entertainer, right up there with like Elvis, Sinatra, guys like that. I mean, he was an excellent entertainer. He was like well-rounded. Robert Mitchum was a great actor, kind of like a stone face. He always played kind of a villain type character, you know, and he was an excellent actor. The movie came out in 1968. It is Region A locked. And Mitchum plays a reverend, but he's kind of not really a reverend. I would recommend this movie, and it's fairly new, and I believe that there's still quite a few copies left on the Vinegar Syndrome website. It does come with a booklet. Not going to go through it all because there's a lot of stuff still to go through, but it's nice that when they include booklets or lobby cards or posters, stuff like that. I much prefer booklets over like posters, but I'm not going to complain. It's really good. So that's Five Card Stud, Dino and Mitchum. This next one's kind of rare in the Vinegar Syndrome catalog. It was limited to 1,000 with this slipcover. It's called Snapshot, and it was also called The Day After Halloween. It's a slasher movie from Australia. They call it Ozploitation. It says here in the back. Let me see here. Angela is a young hairdresser having a hard time making ends meet. Looking for a fast way to earn some extra money, she accepts a job working as a model. Soon, however, she gets the feeling that someone is watching her, following her, stalking her. Is it her deranged ice cream truck driving ex-boyfriend, a psychotic admirer, or someone more sinister? As Angela delves further into her new and sordid lifestyle, she finds herself growing closer and closer to the deadly truth. So this movie came out in 1979. It's 92 minutes running time, and it's all region. And I think they re-released this, but they only released 1,000 slipcovers. So I think maybe somebody else released this by now. I think this is out of print from Vinegar Syndrome, and I could be wrong about that, but I thought a different company now released this movie. Next one here is a twin bill put out by Jesus Franco, or Jesus Franco, or Jess Franco, Uncle Jess. This is Two Undercover Angels and Kiss Me Monster. Two movies by Jess Franco. This one's fairly recent, from the Vinegar Syndrome catalog, so I'm sure you can still find this on their website. Each movie comes on its own disc, and the movies came out in 1969. And they're both Region A. Two Undercover Angels, also known as Sadist Erotica and Red Lips and Kiss Me Monster. It's a sequel, apparently. So I guess you got to kind of know what you're getting into with Jess Franco. He does have some pretty decent movies, but the majority of them are just TNA for shock value, I think. Which back in the late 60s, early 70s probably did shock quite a few people. But nowadays it's pretty tame. Everything is shock value now, but nobody's shocked anymore. So definitely wanted to get this though, and you can still pick this up on the Vinegar Syndrome website. The next one here is one that everybody should own. This should be in your collection, and luckily it was limited to 10,000, so everybody can own it. That's not very limited, but this is a good movie. This is Dario Argento's Trauma, and this was his return to the giallo roots that he started in. This was probably almost 20 years after like Suspiria and Deep Red and Opera and those kind of movies. Those were his earliest. Those were his jams. Those were his best movies. And then in 1993, he tried to bring it back, which this is a good movie. Trauma from 1993. Everybody should own this. This is a good movie. Piper Laurie's in here. She just recently passed away, like a few months ago. 1993, 109 minutes running time, all region. The first U.S. lensed film from the master of Italian horror, Dario Argento. Trauma was his return to classical form giallo filmmaking, offering a twist-filled labyrinth plot, brutal and creative murders. It has all of that. I couldn't have said it better. This is a good movie. If you haven't seen Trauma, I'm sure most of you have. This is definitely worthy of a buy, in my opinion. This is a really, really nice addition. Limited to 10,000, so you can probably get 5 of these. The next one here is another case where this was released as a bigger box set. I believe it was limited to 10,000 pieces. But I didn't want the bigger box set. Instead, I went for the 4K, which was only limited. I believe this is limited to 3,000. So it's much more rare, but I like this. I have this movie already on Blu-ray, but I wanted it on 4K, and I think this movie is really fun. I think it's a good cult classic now. It has achieved that over the years. This is called Miami Connection. I think this looks amazing. I think what they did with this is freaking beautiful. Look at this thing, man. Look what they did to this. It's amazing. That's what the original artwork looked like. I have the Blu-ray. I don't remember who released that, but it was probably like 10 or 15 years ago this has been out. It wasn't Vinegar Syndrome. It's a 3-disc set. So you get 2 Blu-rays, and then you get the 4K. And so the 4K contains the, obviously the 4K film, and then there's commentary. But Blu-ray Disc 1 contains Miami Connection with commentary track and special features, brand new and extensive and exclusive making of documentary and a lot of other good stuff. And then disc 2 contains Escape from Miami, the original pre-release version of Miami Connection, restored from 35mm. So I haven't seen that yet. The movie's from 1987. I'm sure most of you have seen this by now. This was very popular back in the VHS days. And like I said, it achieved cult classic. Even the ones that haven't seen it on VHS have surely seen it on DVD or Blu-ray by now. This is definitely worthy of an upgrade. This is a really nice addition. So I just did a quick search for this movie. I wanted to make sure I give you the right info. I said it was limited to 3,000. It's only limited to 2,000. So you may want to check on the Vinegar Syndrome website to see if they still have these. If you're interested, grab this before it's sold out. Limited to 2,000. Next is another movie. I put this in my cart on the Vinegar Syndrome website, and I was thinking, what the hell are you doing, man? Don't do it. Save your money, buy something else. But I did it. This is a trauma movie called Redneck Zombies. I have this movie a couple different times already on DVD. There's a box set from Trauma that this movie's included, and then there's a standalone DVD that they put out. This movie is pretty terrible, but it's fun at the same time. This is another one of those Degausser videos, but it's still considered a Vinegar Syndrome because they have it on their checklist on their website. So yeah, this is a pretty terrible movie, but it's one of those so bad it's good type movies. I remember renting this on VHS when I was a kid and watching it and thinking, what in the hell? Because when I saw Redneck Zombies and you could see the little still frames on the back, I was thinking, hey, this might be like Return of the Living Dead or something like that. But yeah, it was not. 1989, this came out, and it is all region. And you get a nice chunk there of bonus materials. If you want to pause that and read it, there's some documentaries and making ofs and a lot of good stuff in there. This will keep you busy for a day going through and watching the movie and watching all the bonus materials. The next one here is it's a Russian action movie, war movie from the early 90s called Red Mob. And Vinegar Syndrome released this with two different slipcovers. So the first slipcover that came out, I think it was limited to like, I don't even want to say because I might give you the wrong info. And actually, when I do my collection overview video, I'm going to give you every limited number on all the movies. So I'll have more info then. But I want to say the original first cover was limited to 1,000, and then this was limited to 3,000. So this is a alternate cover for the same movie. And you may remember that this is what the original slipcover looked like. And it's a movie from 1992, 113 minutes running time, all region. It's a Blu-ray DVD combo, and it has an English soundtrack, or an English dubbed track for the movie, it looks like. It says, barely given a release outside of Russia, Red Mob played an important role in post-USSR Russian cinema, with much of its cast and crew continuing to create the highly successful Night Watch duology. Vinegar Syndrome proudly presents Red Mob on Blu-ray for the first time anywhere in the world, newly restored from its 35mm interpositive in both Russian and slightly extended American version. That's cool. See what I mean, man? Vinegar Syndrome, really, they go all out. So that's Red Mob. Here's some more trauma foolishness with a lenticular slipcover here. This is called Rabid Grannies. This one's still available on the Vinegar Syndrome website. I'm a sucker for little gimmicks like this, though. I think that's pretty fun. And then on the back, let's see if we can get her to turn into a monster. I'm easily amused. And then you have this cover. You may remember this cover from back in the DVD trauma days. Oh, good old Rabid Grannies. Comedy, horror, dark comedy. And it had really kind of cheesy, but still good special effects. You can see the monsters in the rubber suits, and you can see that the masks and the heads are rubber. 1988 this came out. 96 minutes running time, all region. Check out that. And it says here on the back, you get a feature-length documentary about the history of Flemish horror. A lot of good stuff. A lot of really good bonus materials on these Vinegar Syndrome releases. Keep you busy for hours. Next one here is a really good, I enjoy this one. This is a good creature feature about a crazed baboon that goes on a rampage called Primal Rage. And man, it's 4K and Blu-ray, but this is a beautiful release. I have this on DVD. I've had it for years. There's the cover. I've seen this movie a handful of times. I enjoy it every time. Look at, you can see that it has that cheesy rubber head. But I grew up watching those kind of movies, so it has a charm to me. 1988, 92 minutes. It's all region. The Blu-ray's all region. And it said made during the peak of Italy's production intersection with U.S. horror cinema. And there you have the two discs. You have the Blu-ray and the 4K. I enjoy a good virus movie, and this is a good movie. I recommend it. This is a fairly recent release from Vinegar Syndrome, and I'm sure they still have quite a few copies left. You should probably grab one of these. The next one here is out of print. It's been out of print for a little bit now, and this was one that I missed. It's a lower run. This was only limited to 1,500, which if you were paying attention earlier, I said most of them are like 5,000 or 6,000 or more. This was only 1,500. So I did have to pay a little bit more for this one. I think it was $50 I paid for this. This is called Prey. I'm not a huge fan of paying a lot of extra money for a release, but this is one that I definitely knew I wanted. And it's only going to go up, I think, from here. So being that it's so limited, and I grabbed it for $50. This movie came out in 1977. It's a Blu-ray DVD combo, and it's all region. It's a sci-fi horror movie. And there's the reversible cover. And it's a Blu-ray DVD. Really glad to have it. I wish I could have got it cheaper than $50, but it is what it is, and you just, sometimes you got to take your lumps, and I felt like it was okay to pay $50. Next is another trauma movie. This is another recent release. I know that they still have some, or they had some on their website, on Vinegar Syndrome's website, like about a couple weeks ago. This is Mother's Day. This is kind of almost like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre type family that lives out in the boonies, and they terrorize people who get lost out there. And they have a overbearing mother, and they're all nuts, and they have a taste for blood. It's a pretty cool slipcover. I was just looking at this here on the back, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I just recently watched a documentary about this. It wasn't a documentary about this, but it was about psyche, or what do you call it? Schizophrenic people, or artists who you could tell that they were really losing it over time. But there was a woman who was crippled from the waist down, I believe, and she was getting really weird mentally. I think they said that they thought she had schizophrenia, and she drew this painting, but it was a little different. It was the same image, but it was not this. It was different. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows anything about that. I know I probably just rambled and it didn't make any sense, but this is supposed to be a pretty famous painting from a schizophrenic female patient. And I'm going to have to look into that again. I saw it on one of the Scary Mysteries, or one of those channels that I watch on YouTube. It wasn't really like a documentary per se about that, but it was one of the topics that they touched on. So this movie came out in 1980. 91 minutes running time, and it's 4K and Blu-ray. And you get a bunch of bonus materials here. And I'm probably not making sense, and I'm rambling, and I'm extremely tired right now. Even though we had Thursday off, I had a long week, and I feel absolutely drained, and I'm having a hard time getting through these, but I want to do it. I want to show you guys what's out there in case you want to buy anything. But I am going to take a break here for a minute. It's going to be a second for you. I'm going to take like a 10-minute break and get something to drink and walk around a little bit, just to kind of wake up a little bit. I'll be right back. Okay, I feel nice and refreshed. I went and started a load of laundry, got a drink of water, walked around a little bit, let the dogs outside. So let's continue here. We have this little bit left, and that's it. So the first one here is called 5 Women for the Killer. This is an Italian giallo movie. This is one that I've not seen. I've seen many, many, many giallo movies. This is one I've never seen before, so I'm looking forward to popping this one in. You can see this absolute horror in her eyes. And this movie came out in 1974, 100 minutes running time. It's all region. Directed by Stelvio Massi. There's a lot of good bonus materials here. If you want to pause that and read it, I don't want to spend too much time with that, just because this is already a very long video, and I don't want to drag it out any longer than it needs to be. So 5 Women for the Killer. I believe that there's still some of these available on the Vinegar Syndrome website. Next one is some good 80s slasher goodness. It's called Evil Judgment. This was one that I missed, so I had to buy this one secondhand on eBay. And it's sold out of print, so I had to pay a little bit more. But this one was still very affordable. I want to say this was like in the $30 to $35 range. And I remember watching this one on VHS years ago, and from what I remember, I haven't watched it since. But the young lady, the star of the movie, was having problems with her boyfriend, and she was a waitress in a dead-end job, and she tries her hand at prostitution, and all kinds of hell breaks loose. This was actually a pretty gruesome slasher movie. 1984, 93 minutes running time, all region. They're calling it a Canadian giallo, 21-minute segment. Yeah, this is a Canucksploitation, they call it. Canadian films. I think Canadian films are amazing. I haven't met a filmmaker that I didn't like as far as, countries. I mean, even Bollywood, I've been kind of getting into that a little bit. That's probably my least ventured genre, Bollywood, but I would like to know more about it, and I think movies are great from everywhere. So Evil Judgment, I was glad to pick this one up. When they announced this title, I knew I was going to get it. This is Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. It's a 4K Blu-ray combo. You have an all-star cast here. You can see you got Cushing, you got Sutherland, you have British Gothic horror, tarot cards. I mean, it's just beautiful. The artwork is just beautiful. And so you have the Blu-ray disc here on the left, and then you have the 4K here on the right. I have the steelbook, Blu-ray steelbook that I picked up. I think it was from Great Britain years ago. The movie's from 1965. It's 98 minutes running time. The Blu-ray is region A locked. But what a cast of characters here. You have, did I say Cushing? I think I did say Cushing. But it's, what do you call it? Christopher Lee. Oh, wait, Wait, hold on a second here. That's Christopher Lee, but Peter Cushing is in this movie, and so is Sutherland. So you have Christopher Lee, Roy Castle, Peter Cushing as Dr. Terror. And I could have swore that was Sutherland, but his name is not. It is, yep, it says featuring an early appearance by Donald Sutherland. It's a 98-minute feature presentation. Wow. This is a beauty. This set is beautiful. And this is one of their more recent releases. I think it's like brand new release. So you might as well grab this now while you can. It did have a high, I think it was limited to 8,000. So that's a lot. But these things do dry up though. So you want to get it now while you can. This is another one I knew I had to get. This is Lamberto Bava's Delirium, Photo of Joya. Or if you watch the American dubbed version, her name is Gloria. Serena Grande plays there's a lot of TNA in this movie. I would even go so far as to say that this may be Lamberto Bava's best movie. I would put it over, he did A Blade in the Dark, he did the Demons trilogy. I know he did a lot of work with Argento. I think this may be Lamberto Bava's masterpiece. This is probably his best work. It's a giallo, it's a slasher movie. And Serena Grande, in the very beginning of the movie, she goes by Joya, or Gloria, if you watch the U.S. dubbed. She's a very successful nude model for a magazine in Italy. And she's able to retire early due to her success. And she starts to contract other young models to come and fill spreads in these magazines. And these young models, these young nude models, are turning up dead in very gruesome ways. And it's a good movie. It's a good slasher movie. It's very, very violent. There's a lot of, the kills are very brutal. And Serena Grande plays a really great role. This is a really good movie. So this is the 4K and I think there's a Blu-ray. The thing about this, I was surprised that they only limited this to 5,000. This is definitely going to sell out really fast. If you haven't picked this one up yet, do pick it up because this is limited to 5,000. It's going to be gone. This is probably one of their best releases, I think, at Vinegar Syndrome. And here's what the original Italian cover looked like. I have this movie probably 5 or 6 different times. I know 88 Films put it out on Blu-ray, and I think Blue Underground put it out. I got it a couple different times. I still have the 4K disc in my player right now, but here's the Blu-ray. And let me see here on the back. The movie came out in 1987. But it has a feel like the 70s. It's late 80s, but it feels to me like it's mid-70s, which is a good thing. I really loved the slasher films in the 70s. The Blu-ray is all region, and you get a ton of bonus materials. But if you haven't picked this one up, do grab it. This is definitely, in my opinion, one of Vinegar Syndrome's best releases. It's not going to last long. Next one is another one I knew I was going to grab, and this is a fairly new release from Vinegar Syndrome. It's a horror comedy. It's a haunted house type movie starring Vincent Price called Bloodbath at the House of Death. If nothing else, the title alone is worthy of the buy. But this is one of those type of movies. I enjoy these where they get these strangers together in a haunted house. And there's kind of like experiments that are going on, and they have to try to survive the night with different things happening. I don't want to give too much of it away. This was mid-80s, 82, 83, 84, 1984. 92 minutes, all region. I'll give you just a little bit of the synopsis, and then I don't want to give it too much of it away. A group of 6 scientists have assembled to test the apparent abundance of supernatural goings-on at a secluded Headstone Manor. No sooner have they set up all their ghost-catching gadgetry than the hauntings begin. From randy spirits to unexplained manifestations, all the signs of the afterlife incarnate are present. But when the members of the party start winding up deceased, it becomes clear that these undead souls aren't very friendly, and all the while the foggy grounds of the manor are being traversed by another mysterious figure. Fun watch. Take a look at some of these stills here. It's the same image that's on the slipcover. I always like to have a different cover on my case than the slipcover if possible. I always try to give it a little bit of variety, I guess. 2 more and then we'll wrap this up. So this is a J-horror, a zombie horror from Japan called Bio-Zombie. And again, it's kind of another outbreak type movie. This cover looks really great. This is still available on their website, or at least it was a few weeks ago. There's a Japanese cover. This movie came out in 1998. It's 94 minutes running time. It is all region. And it comes with a little booklet here. I haven't watched this yet, so I can't really speak about it, but you do get a 20-page booklet. We're going to go through that momentarily. Directed by one of Hong Kong's most prominent action directors, Wilson Yip, who did Ip Man and SPL Killzone. Bio-Zombie is a neon-filled zombie comedy bursting at the guts with 90s flair, featuring a cast of likable characters. Sounds pretty good. Sounds like it's a fun time. Got some nice color, glossy photos and some write-ups. Really, really good stuff. All right, we got one more, and then I will end it and upload this tonight. And yeah. And the last one is, I wish I could say I saved the best for last. I don't know if I did, though. This is a sci-fi action movie from the 80s called Alien Private Eye. And I don't remember if I've ever seen this. I think I have, but I don't remember anything about it. But I have a feeling if I pop it in, it's going to come back to me. It's a movie from 1989, 95 minutes running time. It is all region. Now, this one, if I remember correctly, was very low quantity left on Vinegar Syndrome's website. It says it's part sci-fi, part neo-noir, part action movie, and pure passion. Project for all involved. Alien Private Eye is a genre-bending powerhouse of gut-crushing fight scenes and neon-fueled hazy atmospherics, starring actor and professional kickboxer Nicholas Hill, and directed by future TV writer Vic Rubenfeld. Alien Private Eye has remained mostly unseen since the days of VHS and makes its world Blu-ray debut from Vinegar Syndrome, featuring a brand new 4K restoration. So if I did see it, I probably did, and it was probably a VHS rental. But it's very possible I have not seen it too. So hope you guys enjoyed seeing some of my new pickups, and maybe I gave you some suggestions of things to pick up for your collection. I'm going to go upload this now and probably watch a little YouTube and crash out. But thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you really soon. Bye.